approach. A little bit different to what we looked at yesterday when we looked at the classical approach. This approach involves staff as opposed to the classical approach. So it sees employee input as an integral part to achieving an outcome, so in achieving an output. Whereas previously, in the classical approach, the employee was just an aspect in order to improve production. They weren't a necessary component, an integral component. In the behavioural management approach, they are an integral component to achieve the outcome, and without the employee's well-being, the employee's happiness maintained, the outcome won't be achieved. Okay, so this theory comes from a man called Mayo. He researched in the early 20th century that conducted that workers have both a social and economic need. So with Henry Ford, he thought that the only thing that workers needed was money, therefore he only accommodated to the economic need as opposed to the social need. Mayo also found that being valued as a team member improves job satisfaction. When you are given positive reinforcement, positive feedback, you're more likely to improve your job satisfaction. Managers now needed to develop relational skills, so they had to have that interpersonal connection with their staff, understanding and empathy with their employees in order to sustain productivity. So previously they would just replace the staff or replace the employees, because if they weren't happy, well, there's the door, you can go out, you're not needed, and we'll just replace you. In this case, if you look after the employees' needs and you're empathetic towards the employees, the productivity can be sustained for a long period of time. Your staff will want to stay there. And the biggest issue with losing staff is having to then train staff, new staff, which costs money. Okay, in this approach, in the previous approach, you saw management as planning, organising, and controlling. Management in this approach involves leading. So you're not controlling in this case, you're showing leadership skills. Good leadership involves the leader or the manager leading by example, having the ability to earn respect, listening to others' ideas and being open to those ideas. They understand all aspects of the business, not just the productivity side of the business. They also motivate employees and demonstrate empathy for employees. They're flexible and assuming extra responsibilities. They don't just palm everything off to everybody else and delegate. Management is also as motivating. So motivation is a really important part to this theory of management. Motivation is essentially a personal drive to perform or achieve. So you want to motivate your staff to want to perform, to want to increase their output, to want to do better for the business. Managers must recognise how to tap into what motivates individuals so as to improve workplace performance. Once the manager is aware of what motivates the individual, he or she can then tailor to that need. The long-term effect is that it's going to improve workplace performance. Mayo's studies illustrate that many factors promote motivation. So recognition of the individual, promoting self-worth, engaging in positive reinforcement, improve their pay rates, improve their working conditions, give them a promotion of trust, so give them extra responsibility, empowerment of the employee, rewarding performance, and promotion of self-esteem. Managers who motivate employees are also able to change behaviours. So it makes that resistance of change, when people resist to change, a little bit easier. And management is also communicating. So effective communication involves the sending and understanding of information or messages. It ensures that businesses' goals are achieved and lead to achievement of outcomes. So they're very open in the communication in this approach. In the previous approach, in the classical approach, They're not open to communication. You're just told what to do. You're not communicated to as why you're doing what you're doing, or why you're being timed, or why things are changing. In this approach, you will get a better output. You'll get better worker productivity if things are effectively communicated. Okay, in the previous approach, we saw a long chain of command. There was a very clear division of labour in the hierarchy. It was top-down approach. In this approach, we look at a flat organisational structure. So it's removing those middle layers of management to have a flatter structure. So the hierarchical structure, the top-down, having someone at the top and then next person, etc., has clearly declined in recent years because it was too rigid and too inflexible. Okay, it was hard to get around, it's hard to change things. It restricted creativity because somebody always had to go to somebody to get approval and move up. And it just required way too many levels of management that were not necessary. So this is removing all of those middle layers that we no longer need anymore. So many modern businesses today will use a flat management structure with fewer levels of management and a wider span of control. Okay, so you're looking after more things now. So picture it as if there's more managers on the same level, and what they look after, or they have greater responsibility and they look after a whole range of different things. So the span of control is a lot wider. Management and workers today are mixing and sharing their roles a lot more. So when you employ a flatter structure in this approach, you're delayering, so you're taking away that middle management. There's a focus on functional areas, focus on finance, focus on operations, focus on marketing, as opposed to just all the same focus on the prime function. There's more multi-skilling within work areas. There's more people that can do a number of tasks as opposed to one specific task. This approach lends itself to form teams. So you'll find in a business that has this management structure, that has this hierarchy, this flat management approach, have a number of teams within each level of management. Teams involve interaction with people. They focus on one common goal, work coordination. The whole team takes a specialist approach, not just the individual, so they all work together on the same area. There's a lot of trust, freedom to voice their opinions and ideas honestly. There's a consensus-based decision. So no one person makes a decision, they all come together and form a little consensus about what they're going to decide upon. Flexibility, adaptability, conflict resolution strategies, and an understanding of group dynamics. The types of teams you might have in a business: quality circles, look after the quality of an output, task forces, volunteer teams, nominated teams, and project teams. You can take some time to do this. Just press pause on the video, write a detailed definition of each type of team mentioned on that previous slide. Okay, a team facilitator. Within a behavioural management style, managers would view their relationship with the team as one of a facilitator rather than a controller. So you'll have a manager leading the team. In this type of management approach, that manager wouldn't be telling the team what they need to do. They would facilitate ideas, ask them to bring ideas forward, and facilitate the conversation that's going to happen in making a decision. And finally, the leadership style is a democratic style. So previously, in the classical approach, it was an autocratic style where the manager was controlling, demanding, informing them what to do. The behavioural management style lends itself to have a democratic or a participative leadership style, where they are seen as more of a leader or a facilitator as opposed to a manager. A democratic leader is consultative, shares in decision making, allows suggested changes to occur, recognises the strengths of others and wants other people's inputs as opposed to telling them what they need to do. They will exist in organisations with flat organisational structures, and it values employees. Okay, strengths of this behavioural management theory is that it recognises human contribution to work. There's a blend of many aspects of the study of human beings, and there's an emphasis on the value and importance of relational aspects of work, so teams and communication. Also, by learning about people, managers learn about their organisation. There's recognition that humans are not robots. Conflict resolution is a really big part of this management theory, where they find ways to defuse situations. Employees are empowered rather than given negative feedback. And the democratic leadership style is beneficial for everyone, not just the manager, not just the staff, but everyone in the workplace. Weaknesses, conceptually it's complex. You now have a wide span of control, and having a wide span of control means that you don't really know who to go to for certain things. It's constantly changing, and the environment is very complex. It does take time to see the fruits of this approach, to see the benefits of this approach within a business. Human behaviour is still complex and unpredictable. You still don't know how your staff is going to react. And managers need to do a lot of research if they're going to employ this approach. People change and may also change their response to management. The behavioural theory is said to be abstract. There's no one way to go. And the theories are jargonistic. Okay, that is the end of the behavioural management theory. I hope that you have stopped throughout and have taken notes on that theory. You are now going to answer a question that will be, a copy will be on the Google Classroom underneath or above the video. Discuss the features of the behavioural management approach to management. By features, we're looking at democratic leadership style, flat organisational structure, management is leading, motivating, communicating. So we're looking for those features and discussing the advantages and disadvantages of those features in that approach. You need to type 12 to 16 lines, and it's due by midnight tomorrow night. So you have a bit of time to do that. Do not add to your study notes for this section, but do take notes down underneath the notes that you took down on classical approach in class on this approach, and the study notes we'll be doing together in class next week. Have a good weekend, Year 11.